All right, everyone. You know what time it is. It's From the Margins with Jimmy Alfont and me, the host, that co-host that does everything that gets Jimmy started, David Washington. What an intro. Yikes. I'm so excited just going over those numbers, Jimmy. And, just this particular topic today, Trumpism and how it's defining America. What you got for us today?
Well, we just happen to know that the big, ugly bill passed the House
Yes, sir.
with the changes that were made in the Senate, and they just accepted it and say, "Let's go." It was passed two days ago, so don't tell me that you read it and you just approve it. Look, Donald Trump has a complete control of the Republican Party. He has a complete control over the MAGA movement. And he has decided that as his first act, he was going to kill conservatism forever.
Yeah.
He's killed it. This bill is not about helping Americans. This is about helping the rich upper class, which Trump has always kissed their ass because he's always wanted their approval, because they have always rejected him because he has no class. Person who eats a steak well cooked, a person who prefers McDonald's than anything else, he has no class. So the rich and powerful really rejected him. So what did he do when he became president? He started squeezing them and say, "Hey, if you want your tax cuts, you have to kiss my ring." Some of them went and kissed his ring, and today the rich pay less taxes. The middle class will pay a little bit less, but not. Don't get your hopes up too high. If you were born in the United States, you were going to get $1,000 to be invested, and hopefully by the time you're 18, you're going to have something that's worth $10,000 that is worth nothing when you grow up, and you can maybe use to pay for a dinner out with your girlfriend or boyfriend. So it's not going to be anything extraordinary. But here is where it really kills conservatives. Look, conservative, and I appreciate these people, two bases. One, low taxes, and two, keep the government out of my life. Believe it or not, the concept of abortion did not start with the liberal movement. It was picked up but it was started by the Republicans who used to be liberals saying, hey, stay away from my body. But it has killed it. That's number one. Number two, this bill will pass $3 to $4 trillion in a deficit in 10 years. But what they're not telling you is basic economics. The income of the United States government is going to come down. We can still spend on the big bills such as Social Security. We're going to waste money on defense, as we always have, and we're going to be able to do so with less income. So what are we going to do? Add up to the deficit. So basically, uh, the Republicans, starting with George Bush, he had an excuse. He created a deficit because we had been attacked and we had to defend ourselves. So
Yes.
he had an excuse. Trump's excuse is, hey, I want to make the rich richer and the poor poorer and fuck the poor. That is Trump's philosophy. There's nothing conservative about this bill. Period. There's nothing conservative. But not only there's nothing conservative about this, is that the conservative principles of free enterprise, Donald Trump killed it. Why? He tariffs kill fail free enterprise. What is fail free market? It's very simple. You have a pen, you want to sell it to me for $2. I look you up and say, no, David, $2 is too much. I'll give you $1.50. You say $1.75. That is free market.
Yeah.
Where people do their own things. But when you tell them, hey, you want a pen? Where does it come from? China? Well, The pen that's coming in now is going to cost you 154% more. It's the same pen. And
Right.
who's getting that money? Oh, the money goes to the government. What for? To give to the rich. Uh, Realistically, it is the end of everything. But here is where I want people to understand. More than 70% of people who voted for this bill, both in the House and the Senate, were felt threatened by Trump. They knew that if they voted against it, Donald Trump would run another candidate
Right.
in that office and get them out. He's done it to many people, and many people know this is true. So basically, they are kissing the ring of the king who says, "This is what I want," and they're doing it even though they know it's going to screw the country. But the good point is that the tradition, if it continues, once the Democrats take control, they'll repeal it. So don't get your hopes up high. It's going to fuck you because that has been the thing. There has not been a really unified, bipartisan agreement on anything since Newt Gingrich became the Speaker of the House. And that was in the 90s. That was 30 years ago. So
30 years. Wow.
there is no bipartisan. Oh, there's bills that both parties vote on, but really it's not something that they sit down here and here. The last attempt, really, was an interesting one, was to reform immigration. And what happened to it? Donald Trump told kill it. And what did they do? They obeyed the king. They killed it. So we're going down the Trump death trap very quick. So we'll see what is going to happen because, with all due respect to everybody, I have a couple of questions for you. Is your food cheaper? Is your electricity cheaper? Is your gas cheaper? Is your income the same?
Mhm.
If the answer to those things no, you have a deficit.
Mhm.
You voted for Donald Trump because he was going to be better for the economy, not because you believe that he was a true man or a man for the people. You thought he's going to, and to a certain part, it's because we Democrats fucked it up. Joe Biden, Kamala, and all the fucking leadership fucked it up. That's true. So I'm not going to only blame you. But the question is the economy better? Do you have more money in your pocket? No. Are things cheaper? No. Are things more affordable? No. Look, in New York, he only had to use one word to beat out the establishment, and the same word to beat out the Republican candidate. It's going to be very simple. Can you afford to live in the city where you work? If the answer of that is no, you have a problem. And that is a problem that is occurring nationally. We cannot afford to live where we're living.
Jimmy, we recently had the jobs report released this morning, and it showed that the American economy added about just short of 200,000 new jobs. I don't have the specifics where those jobs were, manufacturing, the service industry, et cetera, et cetera. However, it was a report that was more than what was anticipated. And I saw a brief clip of Florida Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and she was presented with that information and other positive news from the Trump administration. She really had no answer to it. What do you say to the opposition? Say, hey, you know, we have to do a little bit better if we're going to have a message to counter this so-called success that President Trump and his administration has exhibited.
The question is, have they?
Mm.
People, do you believe anything that comes out of the Trump administration? Look, they're such big liars. They can say whatever they want. How do we know that these numbers are true? Because he says so. If you trust him, that's fine. Second thing is, things do not happen immediately. You do not do something that has an effect immediately. These are things that were happening last year. The economy was doing better and everything like that. The truth of the matter is, I'll give you another 3 or 4 months if he does go into effect, okay, which is coming
Okay.
very soon. The tariffs, if they come into effect, how many jobs are we going to lose? Because we
Right.
know that in the ports of LA, more than 10,000 jobs were lost. Those somehow those numbers never come out. Why? Because they lie about them. Look, I'm sorry, and I'm going to say this very carefully. I don't trust anything that comes out of the White House right now. I don't trust anything that they say. They lie through their teeth. Look, when they say, and this is the interesting thing, the chief economist of the White House said that the big beautiful bill is not going to affect the average American.
Oh,
Well, I don't know what he's talking about. Is he saying that the deficit is not going to affect you? It's going to affect the government? That might. You're right. It's going to affect the government, and it's going to affect your grandkids who are not going to be able to buy a house. Also, it's a great bit of bill not going to affect the people who don't buy silencers. You're right. It doesn't. People who don't buy guns. Yeah, you're right. But the
mhm.
truth of the matter is that the lack of income to the federal government is going to mean there's going to be less money for Medicaid. There's going to be less money for Medicare. There's going to be less money for defense, which all you Republicans are so pro defense. There's going to be less money for defense. Okay, so if you're comfortable with that, I am. But the truth of the matter is, it's a very simple response. You really trust anything that comes out of the Donald Trump administration? Because I don't. They're liars. They have always
Mhm.
been liars, and we know we catch them in lies every other so often. So why would? And you know something? It's kind of interesting. A straight number of 200,000. That sounds kind of like manufactured, and especially when they don't tell you what industry, because the
Right.
manufacturing industry is going down, and we know that there is no. The service industry is going down. Restaurants are going kaput every other week, and basically tourism in Florida is going down. I can't say about the rest, but it's going down. Less people are coming here. We know that. So where are these jobs coming from? Donald Trump's ass, maybe. But other than that, I can't. I don't trust anything that comes out of the White House. I'm sorry. You want a Democrat response? Do you really want to trust what comes out of the White House? Do you really want to believe those numbers? The, who? Where do they come from? What agency reported them? Are they reliable? Because right now we know that Donald Trump has taken out all the honest people who work there and put in their own Trumpies. So I, things being manufactured left and right.
Well, the I did some fact checking of my statement. 147,000 jobs were added. This is the Labor Department reporting. Unemployment dropped 0.1% from 4.2 to 4.1. You listen to this, Jimmy. Government employment rose the most in June. 73,000 jobs added, driven by gains in state and local government education sectors. The federal workforce continues to shed jobs, 7,000 jobs lost in June. Massive cuts in federal jobs by the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, earlier this year gutted several key agencies. So the outplacement firm Challenger Gray and Christmas says DOGE layoffs have accounted for nearly 287,000 jobs cut so far this year.
Okay, so let's get this clear. The Department of Labor would never make a report like that.
Okay.
Department of Labor normally is these are the amount of jobs, these are where they come from, and when they might say that the majority was state and local government, that would end it there. The thing of Dodge, that's coming from the White House,
Mhm.
and those numbers are manufactured. Why are they manufactured? Because with all due respect, two
Okay.
hundred thousand jobs uh, less in the federal government. I don't know where, because we know they didn't touch the Department of Defense. We
Correct.
know they hardly touch most of the agencies that they fired, they rehired because they need those people. So it's really, I don't know how they come up but they're good at manufacturing numbers and selling bullshit.
Mhm.
And I will call that those numbers part of the 147, saying the most are state employees. This is the time of the year that state agencies with their budgets are hiring. That's why I keep saying that things don't happen overnight. They happen,
Right.
yes, the budget. As a matter of fact, for those of you who do not know, on July 1st, the federal budget starts all over again. And most of it, and so do many other states. So they start hiring in July 1st because of the new budget. So if if half of them came from state and local governments, the reality is that the private industry produced 70,000 jobs altogether in the month of June. That's pathetical.
Mhm.
It is pathetical.
And
Okay?
and and also in the report, I failed to mention 39,000 healthcare jobs or health field related jobs were added.
And that makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh, the industry that's growing the most is clinics here and there and everywhere. The
Yeah.
concern I have is once the hits for Medicaid come down the pike, how many of those 39,000 will be fired?
Right.
Because the problem is that the cuts to Medicaid are not going to be to individuals. They're not that stupid. They're going to cut it to hospitals. They're going to cut it to clinics. They're going to cut it to Planned Parenthood, and so on and
Right.
so on. And there is where we're going to see the most interesting thing uh, happening here.
You're
So,
right, Jimmy. And I did see headlines and reports of hospitals being very concerned about the Medicare cuts and complaining or petitioning representatives and government who would be voting on this bill to prevent those deep cuts to Medicare.
and they didn't. And this is the problem. Look, I appreciate you bring this up. I'm going to say it. We have two problems in the Congress. The Congress duty has been, since 1995, has been dead. Now it's either a Republican project or it's a Democrat project, but we don't work together. Now we go there to see how rich can I be or how long can I stay.
Yeah.
And that's the
Mhm.
second problem. The third problem is corruption. There's so many corrupt politicians in Washington. That's why people have no faith in them. They say, "Hey, you want to get rid of them? Yes, but you never get rid of yours. You want to get rid of the one from the neighbor, but yours is okay. The other
Right.
ones are the ones that we need to get rid of." The truth is that people need to understand that the problem of everything that they have starts with Congress. Let's give various examples. One,
Mhm.
what is the duty of Congress? To check
Pass
and
laws.
balance the president. Have they ever done that? No. Since Newt Gingrich, if the president's a Republican, they kiss his ring. And since Bill Clinton, the Democrats, if he's the president, they kiss his ring. Uh, and they pass legislation just like they did today by one vote, party lines.
Yes.
Party lines. They cannot sit down and say, hey, can we work out something here where you could vote for this if I put this or that in there? No, it's party lines. Okay,
Yeah.
on both sides. No,
Right.
oh no, no. Both sides, and this has fucked over the country. We don't have anything to save Social Security because the last time the Congress could work together was in the '80s on the Ronald Reagan when a Democrat Speaker of the House, and Ronald Reagan sat down and worked out something that should have lasted into at least 2015. Well, it lasted into 2005. The estimate numbers were wrong, but that was not intentional. That was uh, the inflation. Okay. Have they sit down and say, let's work out to save Social Security? No. Why?
Mhm.
Because the Democrats or the Republicans don't have the majority and they don't want to do it. Have they done anything whatsoever to deal with the environment? No, 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 no. because we cannot work together. Have they done anything to really bring back manufacturing to this country? No, 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 no. We cannot do that because we cannot work together. The failure of the U.S. Congress and U.S. Senate to work together is a disaster for the last 30 years. And for those senators who say, well, the Senate is different, bullshit. You're a bunch of assholes who work on party lines and have always done so. So basically, the problems of the United States citizens is not really it, the president, other than the fact that they kiss the ring of the president and they don't
Right.
do the job. But they're supposed to say, Mr. President, no, we're not going to cut Medicaid. No, Mr. President, you're my party, but I don't care. I'm going to protect Medicaid and as with my life, and I'm going to make sure that people are there. No, Mr. President, we cannot continue cutting the taxes to the rich at the expense of the poor. We cannot do that. Oh, no, Mr. President, this bill will kills the middle class. No, 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 no. They are party line. And if the party says, bend over and show it to me, they do it. And by the way, that's what the U.S. House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate did. Trump said, bend over, and they bend over. Because they
Yeah.
all know that what they have done is create a major deficit for their grandkids. But they don't care. They want to stay elected so they can still remain corrupt and put money in their pockets. You want to
Jimmy,
save this country? It's not making it great. Stop the corruption in D.C. and everything should work out.
Jimmy, knowing that passing this bill the way it did and adding to the deficit, how does the opposition translate that to the electorate that having this addition to the deficit, not paying down the deficit is a detriment to the next generation and the generation after that? How does the opposition translate that to electoral victories?
Very simply, ladies and gentlemen, eventually when the deficit blows in your face, you're not going to get your monthly check from Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to buy a rubber band for the Department of Defense. You're not going to be able to put a bridge between two states. You're not going to be able to enjoy the national parks.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, all these services that we provide for your kids with autism, with depression, with bipolar, with other school problems are going to be gone. And all the funding that the states that you receive for education will be gone, and we will be a fourth class nation. Either we get our shit together or we will be a fourth class nation. Not even a third, we will be a fourth. Why? Because we will owe so much money to other people
Right.
that they will own us. Okay? They will own us. Look, right now, that's the way they're treating the colony of Puerto Rico. The colony of Puerto Rico went and issued some bonds out, and they said, okay, the bonds should pay themselves. All of a sudden, the U.S. Congress fucked the economy in Puerto Rico, and by fucking the economy in Puerto Rico, they couldn't pay the bonds, and right now, they cannot fix the electrical grid because the bonds that are outstanding are from there, and they're saying, hey, Puerto Rico, live within your means. We don't do it, but U.S. Congress is ordering you to stay within your limits. We don't do this. We print paper like there's no tomorrow, but you're going to do it. Don't do like I do. Do like I say. So realistically, what's happening in Puerto Rico right now is a result of bad administration. And if you don't want that to happen to the whole country,
Mm-hmm.
you need to stop the deficit. The other thing is that realistically, these bills, you can say it, they make the rich richer and the middle class poor and the poor poor. They do not help you. Did this bill help your eggs go down? No. Your gas go down? No. Your electricity go down? No. your cell phones now. Did any of this? No. So
Mm.
where is the improvement in the economy? It isn't. Now, I have to give credit to one thing. They're very good con artists. They will tell you
Mm.
that everything is fine. They will tell you that everything is okay. And my question to all of you, are you better today in July 3rd, 2025 than you were in July 3rd to 24? If you are, but you know you're not. And who
Mm.
can you blame that on? The people who have been bullshitting you and lying to you and taking away your money. And how are they taking away your money? They're very simple. I went, like I said, if you go to Dollar Tree, you will see all the aluminum plates and all the aluminum things, a dollar
Okay.
75. Why? Because of terrorists of Canada. Why did Canada tell us go fuck ourselves? It wasn't us. They told Donald Trump to go fuck himself.
Mm.
And Canada, I agree with you. You do not have. You're an independent nation. You do not have to let that bully try to bully you into doing what he wants you to do. Now, there's another way. Give him a 20 or $25 million through a Bitcoin, and he'll change everything. The man has made $620 million since
Yes.
January of this year to present by just uh, uh, by, by by letting people buy him out. He is corrupt. Buy him out.
Mm.
Make him an offer that he can't refuse.
Wow.
Donald Trump doesn't want the presidency for anything else but to make money. So, with all due respect, people don't fear him. Buy him.
Jimmy,
Yeah.
Representative Hakeem Jeffries of New Jersey, or I'm sorry, New
New
York.
York.
Thank you, of New York, showed some opposition prior to the one big beautiful being voted on by the House of Representatives. He stood in front of the House and spoke for, I think, what was it, 8 hours at least, to at least give a voice to the voiceless, whether it's the folks who don't agree with one big beautiful bill, the Democrats who voted against the one big beautiful bill, whatever. Um, is that enough? Is there is there going to be follow up? Should there be any follow up based on what he said and what he did? Although the bill has passed, it will be um, on the president's desk during a special ceremony tomorrow, July 4th, Independence Day. Is there something that the opposition can do to keep their message going, to strengthen their position?
There is, but I'm not sure they would.
Mm.
Look, the days of being Mr. Nice, being politically correct, my party's always fucked that one up. Who
Mm.
gives a shit? Did anybody look? I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna give you if the everybody make a big issue because Joe Biden very quietly said after they pass Obamacare, this is a big fucking deal. Ooh, he said, fuck, you should never say that. That's not presidential. And my party was very critical about that. Well, you know something, I use the word fuck every program, and I will continue using the word fuck. The man just called out another country and used the word fuck on national TV on the Jewish population. Said
Yes.
that the state of Israel was fucking it up and not doing what they were supposed to do, and that and we in the Democratic Party are afraid of rocking the boat. We're afraid that the kid in New York might offend the Jews because he's Palestine. But the fact that Donald Trump says "fuck Israel" isn't relevant. That's okay. Times have changed. Hakeem,
Yes.
you want to do something? Go on TV and explain rice and beans to the American people how this bill is going to fuck them over. Oh, how
Mm.
can I do that? You are the leader of the opposition, and you can ask for time. Now, the networks could refuse you the time.
That's true. They
Okay,
can't.
they can do that, and I will set that. Okay, but that is something that you're going to have to deal with. But if you put it out there, yes. The other thing you could do, for Pete's sake, I'm on social media. You people still think of traditional TV as the only place you could do it. It costs you nothing. Get some good kid to put a good production together and do it. But not only that, take every member of Congress as a Democrat to do the same and localize them in their home states. Okay, localize them and do this. Very simple. God damn, I'm giving you instructions of how to do something as basic as that. The third thing you could do is basically you have congressional mailers.
Yeah.
Get them to do that. Send out a message about how bad this bill is. Send out a message of how Donald Trump is profiting as the president of the United States. Send out a bill saying how this is going to destroy Social Security. Send out all these things. You could do them short term. Hey, I'm the king in this network of the short term things on TikTok and on YouTube. I'm doing better now on Instagram and on Facebook, but what I'm trying to say, you could do that. It doesn't cost you a fucking penny.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you tell them, well, we don't have the money, yes, you do. You have interns, put them together and say, hey, we're going to make a production. And as a matter of fact, you might even have what I use, which is, for the record, train yard. They might be more than honored to have to give to the members of the House and of the U.S. Senate some free streaming, so you could go and talk to the people. But I understand that there's contracts also. But if you don't want to use those ones, because those ones have certain restrictions that you can use the word fuck, asshole, motherfucker, go to the other ones.
Right.
No problem.
Right.
You want, look, I'll give you another one. Hakeem, you want to go to Comedy Central? I'm sure that they'll take you as a guest. Mm-hmm. Okay? Do you know who goes all the time to these programs? My Congressman, Maxwell. He goes to them all. Okay?
Okay.
So, yes, go to that. Go to the podcast. Go wherever you can and get out the message. Sitting in Washington, D.C. doesn't help you. Look, I'm going to say this, and this is something that needs to be said. You know why people are going to Bernie and AOC's rallies?
Why's that, Jimmy?
Because nobody else is doing them. People want they're desperate for leadership. And where is the leadership of the Democratic Party? With their head up their ass. So when you ask me, can they do things? Sure. Can they do a social media in half an hour? Yes. Post it in 45 minutes? Yes. It's always been there.
Yeah.
Not used. Look, I'm going to say Twitter and Instagram, that's the elite, and some people do. Oh, people on Instagram are going to get offended that I said that. But who cares? That's the elite. You want to get to the people, YouTube, TikTok. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that's where the people are. You might not like it, you might think it's stupid, you might disagree with me, but that's where the people are. I'm sure that if you put members of Congress to do this, and you put them on TikTok, they will be there. Look, it wouldn't even hurt you to go out and have some meetings with your constituents.
Right.
Say, here we are. Let me talk to you. Let me tell you what's going on. Let me give it to you as it is. But basically, what are they doing? The leadership of the party has their head up their ass because they don't even know what to do. As a matter of fact, right now, the DNC is not going out either. It's not putting out any messages. So if you want to ask me, why is Bernie and AOC getting... And the other thing, maybe you might want to listen to the youth. Stop pushing the youth away.
Correct.
Stop thinking that you know better. As a matter of fact, it's kind of interesting, but I don't think that Chuck Schumer knows how to stream.
Oh Lord.
Because
Oh,
when you
just
look at
move
their job,
along.
hey,
It's
I'm recording this program and it will be split up and by Sunday I will have 5 to 6 to 7,000 views. We know that. And people, I mean, when you combine YouTube with TikTok and
TikTok
everything,
and the rest of the
it,
platforms. Yes.
it is there. Can you do it? Yes. Just have to get some creative minds. Don't talk to them up here.
However, Jimmy, do they want to do it? A Chuck Schumer, a Nancy Pelosi, these folks who have been there for years, years, and years, do they really want to step out of their comfort zone, their bubble, and actually speak to the people that they need to speak to? I mean, they after at the end of the day, they go to their spatial homes, wherever. They have a nice meal, sleep in their big beds, but then the next day come to the office and pontificate about how they're fighting for the everyday man and woman. Do they
Okay,
really want to?
okay. Let me start with Chuck since you mentioned it. Let me clarify something to my party. You assholes need to wake up.
Whoa!
Look what happened in New York. Everybody thought that Cuomo was a shoo-in. As a matter of fact,
Yes,
the joke was it was his race to lose.
that's
Well,
right.
he lost it. Basically, in a Democratic primary, he was part of the establishment who had the control of all the party's machinery. Okay, he did. He outspent his opposition 12-1.
That's
Okay,
right.
his opposition went with social media to the point that he was even talking in the subways with people, literally.
Yeah.
Okay, he couldn't, and they really had a little camera that basically is one of those that cops use in their pockets, and
Yes.
and that's what they used to record him with, which cost 19.99 on Timu. Just for the record. Okay, so when people tell me, Chuck Schumer thinks that if a young upcoming state congressman from the great state of New York can can challenge him and not beat him, you're an idiot.
Agreed.
What just happened to Andrew Cuomo was somebody who nobody knew.
That's
The
correct.
person who might challenge you would have support of people coming from out of state and will win New York City handily down against you and will give us the first Puerto Rican U.S. senator.
Mm. He'll see.
So if when people tell me, "Wow, they're in a safe district," just look. I'm not talking 10 years ago. I'm not even talking 10 months ago. When people told me, when I said to people, "Cuomo's going to lose that election," people go, "No, no, 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 no. The machinery of New York is really well controlled by the Cuomo family. They have ever. There's no way he can." It wasn't for his race losing by 7 points. Him, because if it was some of the other candidates, I can understand. Him, that Bloomberg put $25 million in a pack to badmouth his opposition. And we all know this. That, okay. And this young kid coming from nowhere with not what you would call an American name, but even though Cuomo is Italian, for the record, for those of you who do not know this, I like to go like, I don't know if you remember the big fat Greek wedding where he says, "Give me any word and I'll give you the," yeah, give me any last name and I can tell you where it comes from.
Right.
Washington is not really an American name. It comes from Britain that was established here, but it is a British name. So,
Okay.
okay, So, who's an American? No. Johnson? No. Miller? Not even close. Miller is a variation from Germany. But Bush? Oh, German. So we could keep on going. Um, as a matter of fact, Trump is if I'm not mistaken, is Scottish.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Right. Okay.
Okay. So when people think that Chuck Schumer can stay home, he can stay home. If Jeffrey thinks he can stay home, and in a Democratic primary he cannot lose. We have shown you time and time again.
Yeah.
Look, you might not like him, you might disagree with him, but Bernie Sanders, an independent, who the party's machinery did everything they could to take him out, couldn't. So let's have a proper debate. If you don't want to do anything, don't. But remember, David Hawk started with 20 million. I understand he has something like now like 27 million
Really?
to get you people out.
People are paying attention.
Oh, yes. And let me
People are
tell
paying
you, if you went to Mandami's campaign headquarters,
Yes.
the average age was 30 and under.
That matters.
The average voting people that came out that voted for the first time in a primary was 18%.
Mm-hmm.
And they were not there to vote for Cuomo.
That's right.
Look, for those of you who want to push the liberals out of our party, go for it. Numbers wise, you will continue losing because this. If you think that you're going to find somebody who's going to say everything is okay, there's no need for change. No. The same thing is in the whole campaign. Mandami did not mention Trump. He did not mention how bad things were. He kept saying, New York, you need to afford it. I'm going to try to find a way to get you free daycare center so single moms can work and leave their kids in a daycare center. I'm going to try to find a way that we could run the buses for free so people can go to work and so on and so on. Basic things that people want to hear. By the way, the thing that he was saying, he was going to put 5 city-run supermarkets, and they were
Correct.
going to be supplied by the food banks of the city of New York. It was not. The only thing that the city of New York was going to do was provide the employees and provide the place. There's a bunch of places in New York that they could open up, clean up, and put it. So he was talking to that. But you know what he did the most? If you ever heard his podcast,
No, I have not listened.
every time he went out, he listened. And every time he was asked a question, he responded. He never evaded, he never vacillated, and he never tried to say something else like, "Well, you know, this guy's a jerk." No, 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 no. You asked him a question, and he stated. And for the record, it's kind of interesting, but if the numbers are correct, this
Okay.
is a scary thing. He got a lot of Jewish votes.
Mm.
There's no way that he got 43% of the registered Democrats and that none of those were Jewish. That's too high of a number to be in certain neighborhoods.
Right.
And he did. Now, what
Maybe
they
the
did, the
the
younger one,
younger Jewish vote. Right.
he did. But still, it's kind of interesting when they say things like that. So this is where we're going to have to understand. The Republican Party died today. It was clearly shown
Yeah.
that Trump said bend over, and House and the Senate bent over. They all know that this bill is going to be harmful for the American public. They all know this might cost them votes, but they also know that they are in strong Republican districts where the possibilities of them being impeached, outvoted, is difficult. Now,
Mhm.
this is the thing that I wonder about all of you. Trump is not going to be the president in 2029. He might still be the head of the party if he's still alive. By the
Okay.
way, he's fallen twice in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yikes.
yeah, yeah. He used to make fun of Biden. He's done the same.
Right.
Uh, so, uh, if he's still alive and he's not senile in 2029, it's going to be a fight over who is going to control the party. But I don't see anybody in the horizon who has the political savvy, intelligence, or cojones to do what Donald Trump did. They're not going to be able. So the Republican Party is going to be so splitted, it's not going to be funny. So that would give a way to the Democrats.
Well, Jimmy, speaking of a threat to the Trump party now, Elon Musk stated that if this one big beautiful bill passes, he will form the American Party. And of course, the naysayers are saying that it will jeopardize, the Republican majorities and split the Republican Party or the Trump Party, and allowing, the opposition, the Democrats, to take over. Is that a significant threat coming from Elon Musk, who has the money to do this?
Look, Elon Musk, you can say whatever you want, and I disagree with most of what he says. The
Okay.
question is right now, let's put it in its proper perspective. You and I have done campaigns, and at the end of the day, it's all about numbers. Now,
That's
when
right.
people tell me, can he affect? Look, Donald Trump won with less than 0.5%.
It was a small margin. That's correct.
So if he could take
Oof.
5% out of the Republican Party, and I'm not, not going to say, no, he's going to take half. No, 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 no. 5%. There's no way in 2029 the Republicans can win a national election. Simple as that. Now, will Florida, for example, 5% make any major difference? Well, if he takes 5% of the Congress people out, which would that would be 3, that might make some balance over there in Washington. Yes. So what I'm trying to say is, when people tell me, can he? Well, you have to understand. You and I have done campaigns.
Yes.
3%. Look, right now, I'll take my county. Nicole Wilson won by less than 2%.
Right.
Okay. For all back to effect, the last one who won with a heavy percent was Kelly, that won like something like 7%, which is not bad. But what I'm trying to say, if you reduce that by 3%, then it's 4. Now and the question is, how is the politician going to react? And here's the thing that people do not understand: general
Okay.
elections are bullshit.
Mm.
Okay. Ooh, what is he saying that? What most Republicans are afraid of is Donald Trump running a Trump person against them in a primary that they will lose. And he's
Correct.
proven that more than one occasion, okay? I would say more than 20 occasions. So that's where it might be. So if for any reason he runs somebody as a Republican who is a moderate, who's willing to take on the Trumpist people, and runs him in a primary, he could win. Primaries, you and I know, turnout is low. Okay. Now you say, hey, go and vote and I'll give you a check for $100.
Right.
And the Supreme Court has said that's legal. Okay. Show up. Okay. You
Yeah.
show up and you show me that you voted. Here's a check for $100.
Yep.
He can do that.
That's correct.
And how would that make him? How can that control an election? Yes. So
Yes.
it all depends. The Republican Party is very, very. If the Democrat Party is very limited in social media, more is the Republican Party. The Republican Party is counting more on the old farts that put on the red hats. We want to vote for it because we want this country to be greener. Yeah, those guys are dying left and right. Okay, but the truth of the matter is they don't know how to use social media. He does. So yes,
Yes. Personnel.
this is where I'm coming from. Can he change 50% of the party? No. But if he takes 5% out of the National Party and get them to vote another way, or to get them to vote for a third party instead of Republican, they can win a national election again. And I'm giving you 5%. So when people 5% is not that difficult to obtain. Okay.
That's true.
Okay. You could run a crazy person, and that crazy person might get 5 to 12%, and we all know that. So what
Ross
I'm trying to
Perot.
say is, yeah, that's how Clinton got in. Ross Perot. It was not that he defeated Bush. It was Ross Perot. You keep
Yes.
forgetting that these things. So if you're going to say yes, can he do this? Yes. The thing is, if he does, who's going to run for president? Because he can't.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's he going to run for president? That's going to be an interesting thing. But it is what it is. Can he hurt? Yes.
Yes. That is
But
true.
he doesn't have to take the majority of the Republicans towards the party. That's not going to happen. He takes 5, they're doomed. He takes 10%, and they're fucked.
Oh yes. That's true.
So
It,
what I'm trying to say is, when people tell me, can he? Yes. Look, the man is not dumb. The man, as a matter of fact, I'm going to go the reverse. It's my opinion that the percentage that Trump won was based on the $288 million that Elon Musk spent to get him into the White House.
Yeah.
And the social media that he used and all that other stuff. So with all due respect, people, don't underestimate the richest man in the world and one of the smartest men in the world. That he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, I agree. But he's not dumb.
That's true. That's very true. Jimmy, before we wrap up and get to the fuck ups of the week, side note: Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is proposing legislation that will redo the census. I believe before 2026 midterms to reflect the new population numbers as people being deported, and it's the understanding that this may perhaps red states even more people counted, or at least let me put it this way, more congressional seats, and causing the redistricting in the 50 states. What's your thoughts on that?
Shows how stupid she is. The numbers of the census include illegals. Okay, they do. If you go and say, hey, I live here, they don't ask you, show me your passport, show me that you're legal here. They'll count you.
The legislation will be limited just to U.S. citizens.
There's no way you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's get this clear. First of all, the biggest problem the census people have is that basically they don't know who is a citizen and not. They send out questionnaires, and basically people respond to them. And they respond to the people who send out that address. They knock on a door. They don't have the right. The census people, well, maybe she could put something in the legislation that to show them a valid thing. But, that's not it. And if anything, let's put it the reverse. Okay, we're going to do it only U.S. citizens. Now the state of Alabama had 7 Congress people because it had this amount of citizens. But now, when you only count the white people, you have less citizens. Do you lose the 7 to 5? This is the thing that you have to think this through. Sometimes, you do things and then, whoa, if I had thought
unintended consequences.
Yes. So if there's less citizens, you get less Congress people.
Right.
I'm just saying that, putting that out there. And the truth of the matter, how do you know? Because realistically, this is the even more interesting thing. We know that residents don't vote, but they're counted in the census. Yes, they are. So if you take those people out of the census, now you have a smaller population. Does that mean you get less representation? Because your representation, Marjorie, is based on all those residents that live in your state. So when you take them out, there's going to be less people. So do you get less Congress people? I'm not sure. It's going to be an interesting. And to be quite honest, I don't see the Congress passing anything that Marjorie is sponsoring. I don't even see coming out of committee. But that's
Right,
a
right,
story for another day.
right.
So let's go to the fuck up of the week.
All
Choose
right.
Democrats or Republicans.
Let's go with the. I think we ended with the Democrats last time, 2 weeks ago. So let's go with the Democrats and then the Republicans.
Okay, Democrats, separate apart, that you have always been consistent and doing shit this week. The best thing you could come up with was Jeffrey's talking 8 hours.
Yeah.
Whoopee! That saved the day. That saved shit. How many American people really know that you were talking? How many people see C-SPAN? Okay. During working hours,
That's
uh, did you say anything about the project? Not much.
right.
Have you done anything else? No. This is your fuck up. You have allowed the Republican Party to take control of the speech, of the thing. They're saying that there's jobs, and you go, oh, oh. They're saying that they have deported a immense amount of people. You have a response to that. There's no proof of it. You have to start calling them liars, pants on fire. Uh, but, but basically, again, when asked, you don't have a plan A, you don't have a plan B. But here is where you have failed. You have not mentioned the end of conservatives. You have not mentioned that the kids and your grandkids are going to pay for this bill. You have
Yeah.
not mentioned that basically you have been lied to. You've done nothing. And at least you're consistent with your fuck ups, which are doing nothing. Now, Republicans, you have done something. I'm not going to even go to the great big bill. People say, well, you're not going to go there. Where are you going to go? Two things that you've done this week. You've shown that you have no backbone, that you have no cojones, and that you don't even read the laws that you put out. It's not about the big bill. It's about you not having the cojones to say, whoa, 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 whoa. I need some time to read this. You criticize the Obamacare because it was 10,000 pages and they didn't give you enough time to read it. You got 2 months to read it. You didn't even get 2 hours to read the one that just passed. So shut up about complaining. The president told you, if you don't vote for this, I will take you out, and you bend over and you open wide. Okay, whatever you want. You know you fucked the American people. You don't care. But here's where it becomes interesting. That bill has a lot of things thrown into it that have nothing to do with taxes,
True.
like not taxing silencers, not taxing other things. And those things, you got paid by the rich to put them in there. Because I'm going to say something. Unless one of you are a manufacturer of silencers, I have no idea what you put in it. Is that in the Constitution? When the framers of the Constitution wrote the Constitution, a silencer for a gun did not exist. Okay, so bullshit. Uh, is the right to bear arms include that it uses a silencer? No, it doesn't. I'm surprised you didn't say that the buying and selling of guns don't pay taxes, but that would cut into state budgets, and you couldn't do that one. But you end up being corrupted by taking money from special interest groups. You have lied to the American public saying that this is not going to affect them when you know it's going to. And of all of the people, one person I always thought had some integrity, Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, you have none. They thrown you some bones, and you vote for a project that later you hope that the House does the right thing. And you say it. I hope that what I just passed the House, if you had voted against it, it would have never come out of the Senate.
Yep.
That's all you had to do. vote against it. But
That's
no,
right,
you
Jimmy.
pass the ball down to somebody else. You are the fuck up of the week, Lisa Kuski. You, personally, as a Republican. So at this point, with that, I will let you all have fun. Subscribe.
Yes.
Enjoy the 4th of July. It's a great holiday. I enjoy it very much. Also, if you dislike or like, put it down there. If you want to come and say that I'm a jerk, I like those because it makes me do like Marco Rubio says. If you call me a jerk, it's because I'm doing my job. So with that, happy 4th of July, and I will see you next week.
Thank you, Jimmy. Enjoy your 4th of July. We'll see you the next time.
Okay, take care.
Bye now.
Bye.